No matter how bad your day has been, no matter what you've gone through, you could have, stubbed your toe, had a fender bender, or any number of issues. Your day is not going as bad as Kevin McCarthy's day has been, because the Republicans have solidly humiliated themselves. I mean, humiliated themselves. It is really, really bad for them. For us, this is fantastic entertainment. I have to say that this is quite fun to watch from a distance. But if I was a Republican, I would be rolling around on the floor screeching if I was them. So the reason why they have embarrassed themselves is because they were supposed to be a House speakership vote. And Kevin McCarthy, who was the, House Minority Leader for the Republicans, he's part of that same class as Paul Ryan is, long time Republican, been working in the party for a long time, has experience, was going to presumably become the House Speaker. We knew in advance that he might be short like 4 or 5 votes, right? We thought he's gonna have to make some concessions to win over people like Matt Gaetz. He's gonna have to do some shimmying here, some shimmering there. The new Democratic House leader, Hakeem Jeffries, is probably not going to, be able to take the vote away. But what we then saw was that for the first time in 100 years, the speakership vote happened and they were unable to elect a speaker. And it was big news. Everybody was shocked. I guess those going into it on the Republican side, maybe a little less so, because they must have known that they didn't have the votes. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just count up to, the number you need. I think it's around 220. 218, I think, specifically is the exact number you need. And if you hit it, then you got it. If you don't hit it, then you don't got it. But apparently, this wasn't resolved behind closed doors. I don't know why it wasn't resolved behind closed doors, if there wasn't enough given to people like Matt Gaetz, who is not supporting Kevin McCarthy. If what else Matt Gaetz needs, who knows? Matt Gaetz instead put forward Jim Jordan to be the House Speaker. I think he got like 19 or 14 votes. He got enough to stop Kevin McCarthy. But the funny thing is about Matt Gaetz putting forward Jim Jordan is that Jim Jordan voted for Kevin McCarthy, and he advised everyone else to vote for Kevin McCarthy. But all that did was cause him to get more votes for some reason.
Flemmy gifted 5 Tier 1 subscriptions. Your error was to assume they can count that high. SMH Dylan SMH.
True, Flemmy, thank you for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs. If we get if we get about 15 more, then we have the amount Kevin McCarthy needs to pick up in order to become House Speaker. Thank you for the 5, though. I appreciate it. Anyway, Kevin McCarthy failed. And so, as you would expect, because, the House cannot operate without a House Majority Leader, without an agreement reached, they hosted another vote. And he failed that as well. And then he hosted another vote, and he failed that as well. They hosted 3 votes, didn't make any headway. Everybody stormed out, was quite surprised, and now there is like an interim kind of like staff presiding over the House, but they can't move forward. They can't vote on legislation. They can't pass bills. They can't pass budgets. They can't do anything. They can't build committees. They can't swear in the new people who got elected, like George Santos, the fraudster. We're going to talk about the people getting sworn in a bit, but they can't do anything. And this, losing 1 vote and not having anybody elected into the speakership position, that's already big news. It's the first time in over 100 years, right? It was like around the First World War since something like this happened. But they lost 3 in a row. It takes an incredible amount of disunity within the Republican Party to produce this result. And now if you look at the betting odds, because there are people who put money on these types of things, Kevin McCarthy is now no longer the betting favorite to be the House Speaker. And so a lot of people thinking, oh my God, is it going to be Hakeem Jeffries? Because many people actually noted that AOC was talking to Gosar and Gates. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? It's pretty weird that AOC was talking to Gosar and Gates. I mean, Gosar, remember, is the person who released a video on Twitter about an anime video on Twitter where I think it was he fake killed AOC in anime form. And Gates, of course, is the person who I don't want to get back into the sex trafficking stuff. I think I've talked about it enough on this channel, but Matt Gates is somebody who's most certainly very far right and is not a friend and or ally of AOC, but there he is talking to her. What are they discussing? Are they discussing a deal? Are they discussing Hakeem Jeffries finding a way to become speaker over Kevin McCarthy and pissing off Republican leadership? Are they talking to Democrats about putting forward a different Republican who would concede to Matt Gaetz and Paul Gosar's demands? I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about. They could be talking about legislation. They could be talking about anything. Who knows? It's all speculation. Odds are that Kevin McCarthy or a different Republican still ends up being the speaker. The odds of the Democrats picking this up when they're going to need every single Democrat vote, which I assume they could get, because it would be crazy if they could actually become speaker again. But they would have to pick up a lot of Republican votes, really. I mean, relative to the situation, they would have to pick up a lot of Republican votes. I mean, not like 50 or 100, but in this, with how divided the country is, and with how divided it is, particularly along partisan lines, the odds of that happening, I'm going to say, are like close to zero. It's not impossible, but I don't think that's going to be the result out of this. I see a lot of people talking about that being the result. I don't think that's going to happen, if I'm being completely honest with you. I talked to a few people who I know at the working on Capitol Hill, and they're saying that situation is like 1 in 20. Maybe like 1 in 10 was the most favorable prediction for that outcome happening, from what I heard from my friends on Capitol Hill. I also want to thank the lovely person in Gutter Chat, Sorachi Ace, for the tier 1 of being sub for 7 months. I appreciate that, buddy. So anyway, we don't really know what's going on. They voted to adjourn the Congress, and so that means there's no speaker. That means they can't vote on bills. That means they can't swear in the newly elected Congress people. That means they can't put people on committees yet. They can't do anything until they have a House Speaker, morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Poggy84, thank you for dropping your one and only Prime on me out of everybody else in the world. I appreciate that, buddy. Thanks for the 8 months. Poggers, look at you, a Gutter Chat, a Twitch Chat traditionalist, posting the memes of our forefathers. I appreciate it. I want a hype train. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to contribute, I appreciate it deeply. Anyway, the Republican Party has solidly humiliated themselves to a historic proportion. Again, first time in 100 years that they've even had to hold more than one, and they've held 3, and they still can't get their act together. I don't know why they weren't able to resolve this behind closed doors. I don't know if Matt Gaetz and the people working with him are just that particularly unreasonable, or if Kevin McCarthy has kind of lost his edge and is just unable to get it out, and he doesn't have enough political clout. Either way, this shows how disunified the Republican Party is, and no matter what speaker they put forward, I highly doubt the next 2 years is going to see the Republicans getting any of their agenda through, if this, is how they're starting off the next 2 years. My God, 2022 is off to, no, sorry, oh my God, I said 2022, I'm so used to it. 2023 is off to a absolutely humiliating start for the Republican Party. And let me just say, the drama did not end on the speaker's floor. Oops. Ooh, DMs. What evil things did I leak? The drama did not end on the speaker's floor. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the people who you would assume would be with Matt Gaetz, but is actually voting for Kevin McCarthy and has been criticizing Matt Gaetz and has been criticizing other Republicans for their lack of support for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker. I don't know what was conceded to Marjorie Taylor Greene to get her to step on, because she was kind of like on the fence for a bit. She didn't really outwardly express her support for Kevin McCarthy as the House Speaker, and then something changed, and now she's going to become Speaker. I don't know if it was, we're going to investigate Hunter Biden, we're going to investigate Joe Biden, or, actually we're going to give you this very powerful committee position. From what I've heard, it's committee position stuff that really convinced her. Anyway, Bronze Miracle, thank you for dropping your one and only Prime on this channel. First time on the channel subscribing. I appreciate that. Either way, this is what she had to say to reporters after the Republicans humiliated themselves and they were unable to get a speakership vote, to have Kevin McCarthy a speaker.
That's what I found out in there. I'm furious. Well, let me tell you something. While the conservatives that the base supports and believes in, let me remind everyone, they're not perfect either. Scott Perry, before his general election, refused to vote against the bill that was all about the gay marriage bill. He didn't. He refused to vote against it. He voted for it. Then, when it came back around after his election, he was able to vote against it. Conservatives would not like that. Let me remind everyone this: Matt Gaetz, who has compared Kevin McCarthy to Paul Ryan, my friend Matt Gaetz, he supported Paul Ryan almost more than anyone. It's still on his social media. As a matter of fact, his first vote.
Immoral.
Okay, so
corrupt, bankrupt.
The thing is, Bronze Miracle just gifted 20 subs, and she or he, I don't know their pronouns, gifted 20 subs, which is a lot of money. I appreciate that. During Marjorie Taylor Greene's speech, which makes me assume that they really, really, really love Marjorie Taylor Greene and want me to watch more of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And so to thank them for the 20 gifted subs afterwards, we are going to watch Marjorie Taylor Greene on Steve Bannon's show. So everybody, thank the bronze medalist for their amazingly generous 20 gifted subs. So now we get to all watch together Marjorie Taylor Greene interviews about this failed vote. Everybody thank bronze medalists for more Marjorie related content. But no, for real, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. That's going to be going off for a while.
Morally corrupt.
My goodness.
Man.
Ruffle Dog keeps redeeming ask for subs. I don't know why you would do that that many times in a row. Do you want me to just say it again and again and again? Is that the purpose?
Immoral,
you just want me to like get on my knees and grovel for subs and grovel? Is that what you want? You want the groveling? You want me in the dirt asking for money? Please, please, I am just a poor suburbanite. Please, money. Beg, bitch. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Wow, that got weird. At Dylan Burns, look at the comments on this thread. They turned on MTG and it's glorious. Well, let's wait for the sub stuff to go. I want to finish what she's saying here. But I also like, well, let's finish what Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying, and then I'll give you a conclusion. Because I did research what she said, and the funny thing about what she said is like, nothing she said is a lie. Here specifically, she has lied many other times, but nothing she said about her Republican far-right colleagues who refuse to support Kevin McCarthy. It's not moderates that are not supporting Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy is a right-wing, Social Security cutting, poor people hating Republican. Doing a little pro-democratic slander there. It was because he's not radical enough. He's not far-right enough. He's not caving to people like Matt Gaetz enough. That's the reason why he hasn't gotten the votes.
Bankrupt man.
But thank you for the 20 gifted subs. I really do appreciate it. No lie. No, listen to what she has to say. Listen to her finish it. Nothing that she is saying here is a lie. Everything she's saying here is factually true.
In Congress was for Paul Ryan as Speaker. And then he cheered him on for nearly a year and a half or more when people like me were at home furious at Paul Ryan's speakership because it wasn't passing the MAGA agenda that we all supported. Chip Roy, he refused to object on January 6th. That's not what our base wanted. He also set out the vote for the January 6th committee. There's many more. Bob Good, $2 million from Kevin McCarthy to get elected. Lauren Boebert, under $2 million from Kevin McCarthy to get elected. Many more more people have taken Kevin McCarthy's money to get elected, and then there's a few of them that don't want to support him as Speaker. So imagine that. This is not anything about the country. This is all about never Kevin. They just don't like Kevin McCarthy. You cannot be successful in anything if you aren't able to walk in a room, make what you want, and get a deal done, and then walk away with the W and get to work and not worry about who you like and who you don't like.
Dude, I'm sorry, but it's really funny that Marjorie Taylor Greene is fucking stumping for Kevin McCarthy, the epitome of what is the current Republican establishment in the House, outside of what, maybe Lindsey Graham. It is really, really funny to see her turn on everyone else, like, well, Matt Gaetz loved Paul Ryan, and I was very critical of Paul Ryan, and Lauren Boebert took Kevin McCarthy's money to get elected, but now is not going to support Kevin McCarthy to become Speaker. This is just because they're spiteful. They're spiteful. Nothing she said, though, about the money being taken from Kevin McCarthy by Lauren Boebert and her colleagues, or Matt Gaetz supporting Paul Ryan, somebody that's probably even more establishment, traditionally at least, definitely more moderate than Kevin McCarthy. And all the other things she said, none of them are wrong, right? None of them are factually incorrect. I went out and I looked. Everything she said is true. And that's the funny thing here, is that Marjorie Taylor Greene turns on them, and it especially stings because everything she's saying about their past shilling for the establishment or taking money from the establishment is absolutely true. And the idea that, Lauren Boebert and the rest of these people are, oh, we wouldn't work with somebody like Kevin McCarthy. And I mean, that's not the case when you have something to benefit out of it, say money for your campaign. I thought it was really funny to see this, because what we're basically witnessing, definitely if we watch Matt Gaetz's speech, which actually I think it might make sense for us to turn to C-SPAN and watch Matt Gaetz's speech, is we're basically watching War of the Clowns. Somebody even said it in the chat, it made me, in the Twitter replies, made me think of it. Begun, the clown wars have. I mean, this is fantastic. All I did in response to this was just post like a popcorn gif or a popcorn emoji, because this is what we're going to see for the next 2 years. 2 years. 2. I mean, this is going to be a disunified, unable to get anything done Republican House, no matter who they make as Speaker now. Because if they weren't able to do it after 3 votes, I mean, literally failing on a historical level, there's nobody they could put forward that is going to be able to unify this Republican Party enough to get anything done. Anything. In fact, before I said, because the Republicans now control the most seats in the House, it's going to be practically impossible for Biden to get a lot of his agenda done. I don't think he's still going to be able to get the majority of his agenda done. But if there's this much disunity behind Kevin McCarthy and behind whoever they put eventually forward as Speaker, and we saw as much unity as we did behind Hakeem Jeffries put forward by the Democrats, that does make me think, is there a way that they could shimmy and shake maybe at least a few bills through? Will the Republicans even fail at the most basic thing that you think they would be able to do, and that is, at least block Biden's agenda? Maybe. I am a little skeptical of that outcome due to the fact that most of the opposition that Kevin McCarthy is getting is from, the far right, and those are people who are not going to agree with, say, I don't know, things like marijuana legalization or anything that we would want to get through, even though Biden does not favor marijuana legalization. I think it's one of the silliest positions he takes, considering how popular it is. Either way, this disunity is not going to be good for the Republicans, and if it's bad for the Republicans, it's obviously good for the Democrats. Can we actually watch? Can we tune in to C-SPAN and actually watch Matt Gaetz's speech about Kevin McCarthy, or we can just watch the C-SPAN speeches. Period. Maybe. I think that would be good. I think that'd be very good. Oh, by the way, there is one thing though. With Marjorie Taylor Greene turning on the right as she has, well, not turning on the right, but turning on Matt Gaetz and a few others on this specific issue. People like Ali Alexander, who is the organizer for January 6th, he was also on that podcast with Kanye and and Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes, if you remember him from that. But he was also most famously the organizer for the January 6th riots. He posted something on Telegram saying that he's going to release evidence that Marjorie Taylor Greene actually perjured herself. Look right here. First Gates and Good, now Gozar. They never talked to her. And this is Marjorie Taylor Greene commenting on AOC talking to Paul Gozar, as we looked at earlier. Marjorie, you are crossing a line. We can disagree without going this far against each other. Delete your attack against Paul, or you'll have to attack me because you'll know what I'll be able to say. Then whine emoji. Ooh, he's a little sassy. He's a sassy little guy. Oh, he did a little sassy insurrection. You have 30 minutes or I'll go nuclear. Please go on record now. Who doubts me? Remember this? Where's this? Delete the attack on Paul. Delete your Twitter post or I will rain hellfire down upon you. This is going to be the next 2 years and I'm all for it. Let these clowns tear each other apart and honestly ruin their careers. I would love to see that. Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Actually, if we're talking about Republicans embarrassing themselves, we should talk about this. So, for those of you who don't know who George Santos is the Republican who lied about being Jewish, who lied about his mother dying on 9/11, lied about working for Goldman Sachs and other prestigious financial institutions, lied about his educational background, and honestly, if you give him enough time to speak, he'll just lie, period. He also took money from Russian oligarchs' money managers, over $50,000 to be exact, while he was also trashing Ukraine and saying that the Ukrainians actually wanted the Russians there, right? Then the invasion happened, and out of nowhere, he zipped up and then started claiming Ukrainian identity. It's unironically kind of very, very disgusting. I mean, that gets less coverage in the media because it's not as flashy as dude lied about being Jewish and about his mom dying on 9/11. But I want to make sure that reporting, which was done by the Daily Beast, gets its due time, gets its respect. Well, he, after so much backlash, getting rammed by Tulsi Gabbard live, being dragged through the mud, and many other Republicans, newly elected Republicans, calling for an investigation into him after it being announced that there is going to be a probe into his behavior. For whatever reason, maybe this has been his dream since he was a young boy, he is not, stepping down. He is not going to he's not, hiding in a hole and going away, at least in his home. He seems to be hiding in a hole in DC now as he's trying to become a congressperson, and he's not resigning in failure. But he's avoiding every reporter and every question possible. And the whole day, he's been dodging, dipping, and running around trying to make sure reporters can ask him questions outside of who is he going to vote for House Speaker. Anyway, listen to this. Listen to this. Just listen to the reporters asking him a question as he just refuses to engage with them. It's absolutely embarrassing.
What's your name today? Is it Anthony DeVolder or is it George Santos?
Oh, that's another thing. He changed his name. He used to be called Anthony DeVolder. Then when he wanted to run, in New York, he all of a sudden became George Santos. That's another thing that's strange about this character.
Do you think anyone in New York actually trusts you? Do you have any idea what you're doing today? Are you pretending to look at your phone?
Are you pretending to look at your phone?
Are you worried about the charges in Brazil? Prosecutors going to use them? Are you going to refund the people that funded your campaign? Are you concerned about the
any comment for the protest happening outside of your office?
Sir, do you have any statements to your constituents? Do you have any statements to your constituents? Are you going to refund?
Honestly, you know what he should do? He should nominate himself for House Speaker. That would be the base GigaChad move. He should just go up there. If you know he's lied already, might as well say I have 30 years of experience in the House, 30 years of experience in the Senate, and I served 4 terms as President of the United States. I'm the most qualified to be Speaker of the House. I served in Vietnam, World War II, and Korea. Make me House Speaker. I think it would be a banger speech. I think he'd win.
Any comments on the protest happening outside of your office?
Do you feel like you're qualified to serve in this Congress right now? How do you hope your constituents can trust you, even though that you've misrepresented your biography to them?
What's your response to calls for a House ethics investigation by Nick Lota?
God, he's just head down, walking through the halls of Congress. You want to know what? I don't know if the reason he won't step down is because this was like a childhood dream of his and he's finally got here, or if he thinks this will just blow over, but I really highly doubt this is exactly what he expected his first days in Congress to be like.
Do you have any statements about your campaign and how you hope to govern?
Nothing.
Do you hope to carry out your full term?
What can you say to reassure your constituents that you'll do what you said you were going to do on the campaign trail, given the concerns that have come up about statements you've made in the last few months?
Now, this is a really interesting clip, and this is the one we're going to end on, because this is him coming to his office, looking into his office, and seeing reporters, and just walking away. He can't even show his face in his own congressional office. If he doesn't even have enough of a backbone to go into his own congressional his own congressional office, because he's scared that he might be asked a tough question about what he lied about 9/11, then, you know, maybe he isn't cut out for the job, because, you know, this is a very high profile job. You're constantly like in the attention of the media. If you're not ready to deal with the media and you want to work in politics, you should work as a congressional staffer, maybe, or like some backroom person, maybe some lobbyist, not a sitting Congress person. This is going to be the worst 2 years of this guy's life. And if you think maybe it would have been different when he actually got to work with people in the House, like, you're like, okay, reporters are being mean to him, but what about his colleagues? They're probably being nope. Here's him sitting alone, doing that thing he always does, just looking at his phone, sitting alone, so lonely, so sad, so pathetic, as all of his colleagues around him are super excited, taking selfies, like, wow, I actually made it to the House, I'm actually here. The only person that will not bully him, apparently, is his cell phone. Unless he goes on Twitter, of course, which then the bullying shall commence. Very pathetic first day for the new Republican House. My goodness. My fucking goodness. What a loser. And I don't like bullying people, but oh my god, what a fucking pathetic schmuck. What a pathetic schmuck. Dylan, I recommend you watch the Reuters special report. You're talking about the one about Kremlin agents in Berlin, yeah? McCarthy doesn't have the votes, Scalise doesn't have the votes, Biggs doesn't have the votes. There's only one man who can truly run the Republican Party. Neurosurgeon, Nobel Prize winner, and World War II hero, George Santos. Yes! Somebody already stole my joke. Yes. Yes. Yes.